So hi everyone, this is Ecuboot and welcome to the videos on the Mercedes Matic adaptive suspension systems. And right in front of you is a Mercedes S400 in which we're going to do some procedures. So during these videos, we'll provide a brief technology overview of both the Mercedes Matic suspension systems and the adaptive damping systems ADS. We'll also be show you a hands-on demo Matic suspensions in actions and the effect it has on the right tire of the car, as well as the corresponding display message shows on the multifunction systems, and wrapped up with my final thought. So first of all, what is air suspensions? Well, air suspension throws conventional spring right out the windows for a cylindrical rubber bladder filled with air. A compressor in the vehicle supplies the bladders, and they're both managed by a control module. Each air spring is monitored by the module for pressure and height, and it adjusted accordingly to whatever the drivers or computer want to see. Now, the bellows, or bags that acts as a springs, is made from rubbers or elastomers, stranded with cords to provide durability along with the elasticity needed to give a compliant ride. And Corteco, the OEM air suspension suppliers to Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Volkswagen, layer their reinforcing cords in parallel and in crossing pattern within the elastomer, allowing the bags to have a sharp responsiveness and retain a torsional stability as intended by the OEM design. Now each bag is given a target air pressure rating by the control module. When the pressure is low, the compressor pumps up more air into the specified spring, raising the ride height and the stiffness. Excessive pressure in the spring means its air is diverted to a small reservoir or expelled to the atmosphere. Think of a blow-up valve for your suspensions. The top of the bellows is crimped to the upper suspension mount, while the bottom is fixed to a piston on a damper. The piston is mounted on the top of the damper and moves inside the bellows as the spring compresses. The air pressure inside the bellows and the shape of the pistons determine the spring stiffness. Now together, the air springs and the damper it sits on makes up an air strut. So the control algorithm for the dampening and level adjustments is filled in the Matic control unit. Automatic selections of the operating range or characteristic in the steam power diagram is calculated on the basis of the various driving signal. The configured vehicle level is held constant irrespective of the payload. Level sensor on each wheel measure the vehicle level. When loading the vehicle, the air mix compressor, while situated at the front passenger footwell plate, it pumps additional air into each of the spring bellows. Now, when unloading, the vehicle levels is adapted by the venting air, and the Matic compressor runs permanently during the dampening and level controls. Well, quit talking. I'm going to show you a procedures on how to test this Matic suspension using the sentries. And as always, we're going to hop on to our N51/3, which is our Matic control unit. Previously mentioned, it will control the damping valve, the pump, and the dissociations on the venting air on each of the suspensions. Now what you're seeing on the screen is the feedback from level sensor on the suspensions, and what it does is kind of an input information for the Matic control unit. Now the pump will have a pressure relief valve and a damping valve to control the amount of oil inside the suspensions, adjusting the height to match the driving conditions or driving mode. And the last thing that I want to mention are these Y36/6, which are the level control valve. Besides all of that, the main thing that I want to introduce is the testing procedures. Like when the system is leaking on all of its suspensions, or two at the front or two at the rear, we can perform the test to check each of the components which are on the systems. Now for example, the A9/1, we can test to see if the pump is giving enough pressures to the systems, because if it doesn't, water could enter the systems and resulting the lack of performance on it. Now make sure that you follow it's a prerequisite saying the vehicle is unladen and it is parked on a flat surface. So first of all, It will raise the front left suspensions, and with this air management systems, it will monitor through the height, not through the pressure. At this point, it's releasing the pressure after being lifted up to nearly 30 millimeters. And as mentioned before, the level sensor will feed back the height. Now in short, the test will pump in and releasing, and for an amount of time, it will see if the suspension can release all the pressures. Now based on the period of time and height, it will determine that our pump is working properly or not. Now next up is the right front suspensions. It's very easy to perform this, and after testing through each of the suspensions, it will wrap up with a conclusions. Now with the situations, I think we're having a problem here because the suspension can be lifted up to nearly 30 millimeters. But somehow this one, it only goes up to 20 millimeters. Later on, the test will tell us that there is something happening at this right front suspension. So you can see that it tells us that the check was not okay, and there are two possible causes of faults, including the left rear suspension strut shut-off valve and the air magnetic pressure relief valve. Now in the next step, I will confirm the problem by testing the pressure relief valve. The procedure is very similar, and we only need to wait. So now you see it's telling us that there are leakage in the compressor air systems, or the air compressor is defective. Now in my opinion, what could be entered the pressure relief valve and resulting lack of performance, and at this point I would suggest to replace the pump. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the videos. I hope you learned a lot about the Mercedes air management systems, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us and we'll help you as much as we could. Thanks for watching and see you next time.